Hello, hello. Welcome everyone back to the Keys to AWS Optimization. I'm super excited to be here today, as always, but especially because we're talking about one of my favorite subjects when it comes to optimization is CloudWatch. So make sure you stick around to learn all about CloudWatch Infrequent Access, a CloudWatch Dashboard, and a new pattern analysis. But first up, my first guest today is Matt. Matt, how's your day going so far? I think it's quite early for you still, right?
Not too early. East Coast US, so not too early. It's great. Fantastic weather. We're in spring here. Lots of flowers, lots of leaves. Good day.
Amazing. And last week we had our spring cleaning episode. So we mentioned a bit of CloudWatch optimization on there. So make sure to go and check that out. And if you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give the video a like so that you can come back to it. But a quick announcement and summary. The other day I did the London Summit, and thank you to everybody who came up and said hi on the floor of the summit. It was great to see so many people who watch Keys. So nice to see everybody. And also thank you to everyone who came to the AWS F2 meetup where we did a hands-on lab, had some great feedback for that. So we are going to be hopefully doing more of that in the future. But let's get into today's episode all about CloudWatch with our official start. Welcome everyone to the Keys to AWS Optimization, the show we share stories, concepts, and solutions to help unlock your spend at AWS. My name is Steph Gooch. I'm a senior optimization solution architect advocate here to help you with all your FinOps questions. And as I said, I've got Matt here with me today. Matt, do you want to give everybody your 1-minute origin story?
Sure. Hey, everybody, I'm Matt Tushner. I'm a product manager here at AWS. I work on the CloudWatch team, specializing in logs. I've been at AWS for a couple of years now. Prior to that, I served in product management at a few different companies, mostly in the security space. I've got a fair amount of security background. And
Ah,
I used to be a developer where my first job, I built kind of my own logging solution myself with Perl and a couple other scripting languages. So here I am now fully
amazing.
specialized in logging.
I love the developer background. Same, I used to be a developer for many years. But love that and a kind of security background, which makes sense while you're in the world of CloudWatch. So before we get into a little bit more on the episode, just to say some good mornings. Good morning, everyone. Kelsey in the house, love it. We got hi, Pranash, and hi, and how so hi, everybody. Thank you so much. As always, feel free to put comments, questions in the chat. We want to hear from you. We're here to answer anything you have about CloudWatch or about any other subjects, as long as it's cost optimization. We will also be hearing from Jean later on to look at some dashboards, but Matt's going to go into a bunch of stuff focused on CloudWatch logging. So, Matt, do you want to give us a quick overview of what CloudWatch is and also maybe what CloudWatch logging is specifically?
Yeah, so CloudWatch is AWS's managed observability product suite. So the kind of primary pillars of CloudWatch are logs, metrics, and tracing. There are several other CloudWatch products as well, all in the observability space. So the main users of CloudWatch are application developers, DevOps engineers, and site reliability engineers. And basically, what they use this product for is observing and troubleshooting any issues with their applications that they're running in AWS or even outside of AWS. So if you're running some code in AWS, you want to make sure everything's still working, all your customers are happy, CloudWatch is a tool for you. What our customers love about it is one, it operates at massive scale. So we have gigantic customers funneling huge amounts of data through CloudWatch. And furthermore, it just works. It's there in the AWS console. You don't have to go deploy a bunch of extra infrastructure. It's just there. So a lot of AWS customers really love that aspect of it.
Yeah, the integration with does it integrate? I don't know if you know this off the top of your head, I feel like it's a hard question. How many services it integrates with natively? Is it just kind of anything that produces any kind of metrics or logging?
I don't know the number off the top of my head. As far as like AWS service integrations, I want to say it's over 100 that it will natively just pull
Wow.
logs out of those services. You don't have to go set up, configure anything complicated. It just shows up in CloudWatch so long as you turn
Mhm.
it on. And then on top of that, customers can configure to send their own application logs. So if they're running EC2 servers, EKS clusters, they're running even their own on-premise hardware, all of that can send logs, metrics, traces, whatever telemetry the customer wants up in the CloudWatch, and they can access it, use it all from there.
Awesome. And so, do we want to go into any more on logs before we start to, I feel like, even closely move into our demo? Is there anything else you want to touch on?
No, I think we could probably pivot over to demo from here.
Quick jump into demo, like nice and speedy. I love this. So, if you want to show your screen, Matt. So while Matt's bringing that up, we've got two things that Matt's going to demo. First of all, we're going to focus on the new infrequent access tier for storage on CloudWatch, and a couple of things about what that is and when you should use it specifically. Uh, this was something that came out at reInvent last year. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Perfect. All right. Feel free to get your
All
screen.
right. Give me one moment. I'm setting this up.
Love doing the screen share. It's always fun. And while we're doing that, people in the chat, let us know any questions, or do you use CloudWatch, or do you use any other monitoring tools? We would love to know. Okay, here we go.
Okay, here I am in CloudWatch, and I'm going to talk about a couple different features. The first thing I want to talk about is something well, actually, all of the features that I'm talking about are relatively new features that were all launched back at reInvent last year, so just this past November. Um, anyway, the first thing I'm going to talk about is a new log class we've all launched within CloudWatch. Whenever you ingest logs into your CloudWatch, that comes with associated cost. And what we've done recently is launch a new log class tailored for specific use cases that comes in at a lower cost for that ingest price. So a lot of customers have been really excited about that, and I'll talk about what the best use cases for it are, what the limitations that come with that reduced cost are, and where customers have been finding success with that. After that, I'll talk about a couple additional features that are more in the analytics space. So features that help the developers and other folks using CloudWatch really optimize their time and using this tool to more quickly arrive at the insights they need. So typically, our customers are using this tool to troubleshoot some problem. They got a page in the middle of the night and they've got to really quickly get to an insight and troubleshoot that application issue. And I'm going to show a couple of features that help and make it much quicker and easier for those folks to get to those insights they need to correct those issues and then go solve the problems for their customers.
Awesome. All right, go for it.
All right, so let's talk about the new infrequent access log class first. So before I actually get into showing you what this feature looks like within the console, I just want to highlight a couple points over from our pricing page and the documentation. So historically, when customers use CloudWatch logs, this is kind of a quick view of the pricing they were looking at. And for our customers, a lot of the cost they face when using CloudWatch comes from the standard ingestion rate of 50 cents per GB. But what our customers told us is for some workloads they have, they don't really need the full set of all the awesome features within CloudWatch. So what we've done is launched a new log class called Infrequent Access that you can see in this region, or US East 1. The cost is half the ingestion cost of the standard class log. So as you might imagine, that comes with some trade-offs. In order to achieve that lower cost of ingestion, we have to trade off on some features. So the biggest ones to be aware of are for this new infrequent log class, you're not able to do metric filters, which allow you or our customers to extract metrics from their logs. Your subscription filters are not enabled for these log classes, which is commonly used to forward logs out to other tools such as Lambda or maybe Kinesis.
Ah,
And then a couple other kind of, let's say, premium features or the more complex things. But even though it does have these trade-offs, you still have access to CloudWatch's fully managed log ingestion and storage. You're able to link logs across accounts. So if you have multiple AWS accounts, you want to get visibility in one view. And you're able to run logs insights, which I'll show you in just a second, which is our query engine. So kind of what we found is there are certain customer use cases that are really well tailored to this. For example, customers who have let's say audit type log use cases where they really only need to come in and access these sporadically to do some sort of query of what's been happening for the past, I don't know, months or years in that audit log. That's a really strong use case. There are customers who are using logging for more that application developer persona, trying to troubleshoot applications, instrument dashboards, build alarms around their logs.
Yeah.
those customers continue to prefer the full set of features on the standard class logs.
Mhm. Do you have any kind of, I mean, I think we've spoken before, kind of web logs or ones that are very like simple, right? They're going to be the same all the time. They're the kind of use case examples. We've got someone asking in the chat the top use case. Is there anything you've seen that like quickly somebody looking at maybe this view, or when they speak to developers, they could ask the question and figure out the use case very quickly?
Yeah, kind of one benchmark I use is an application log. So is it the logs coming out of your EC2 instance, your EKS cluster that you're using to troubleshoot and debug your application? Do you want to build
Mhm.
dashboards? Do you want to extract metrics from your logs? Do you want to alarm on things happening in your logs? If the answer to any of those is yes, then probably the infrequent access tier is not going to be a good fit,
Right.
um, because you're going to lack those features that unlock all that awesomeness. However, if it's logs that you only need to really access sporadically, and the only thing you really need to do is run queries in the log, perhaps something like AWS Glue logs is a common source we hear from customers. But kind of to distill it down, do you need to use metrics? Do you need to build dashboards? Do you need to build alarms? If any of that's yes, but use standard. Do you only really need to run an occasional query against those logs? Then maybe the infrequent access is a good fit.
Okay, cool. All right. So, going to be the next question is, how do you enable this on your
Okay.
log groups?
Yeah. So let me show you. Within CloudWatch, we have this concept of log group. You can kind of think of it, if you're not familiar with CloudWatch, it's like your folder of logs. It's the S3 bucket of your logs. So what our customers typically do is each application or each thing they're running in AWS gets its own log group. Um, In order to use the infrequent access log class and get access to that lower ingestion pricing, what a customer needs to do is come over here to the log group page. You can also do this via CLI, API, CloudFormation, Terraform, what have you, but I'll just do it through the console.
Mhm.
You create a new log group. Let's call it infrequent access log group. Retention, this is how long you want to retain the logs. Again, from another good thing to note with this from a cost optimization standpoint is we highly recommend customers always pay attention to the retention period on their logs.
Mhm.
You want to select a retention period that's applicable for your use case. So if you're using your logs for application debugging, maybe you only need to keep them for 30 days. However, if you
Yeah.
have audit requirements, something like that, you might need to select a longer time period. So let's just pick, I don't know, 1 month for this or 2 months for this. And then here we are, log class standard. So essentially, the short answer is when you're creating a log group, you can create it as the infrequent access log tier. Then any logs ingested into this log group will be rated at that lower price point for the ingest cost. But we can see the drawback immediately
Oh,
here. Some of these features
that's,
are not available. So
yeah.
what
There you
is
go. That
available, however, is this logs insights. I already forget what I called that.
while you're bringing that up, the kind of big emphasis again is like you can't change an existing log group. It's something I didn't even click until it dove into the data. But it does, and as Matt said, when it comes to setting retention policies, what this also pushes you to do is when you're building out things that require a log group, build the log group yourself and set it up how you want it. Because I think, I don't know about if this is what you see, Matt, where a lot of customers build stuff and then assume Amazon will just create a log group for it, and then they don't have any of that main control, and that's why it's always set to never expire and it's always in standard. But yes, I continue.
Yeah, sure. But for sure, I highly recommend customers pay attention to this. Most of our customers keep this to a period that makes sense for them, and then this really helps contain their CloudWatch costs. But if you're not paying attention, and developers are out there setting this to preserve logs forever, that you don't need to preserve logs forever, it can obviously lead to some higher than
Yeah, that
useful cost.
yeah, the idea of keeping them forever is just like the same as, I don't know if anyone else does this as well. It's like a millennial thing where we always keep the boxes of things we buy. Like in my house, there's definitely a set of boxes of like a slow cooker I've bought and I've never got. because there's this weird obsession with keeping it.
I don't
Anyways,
have so many boxes, but I definitely have the cable box, and
there you go.
my
There's like
my
things you
wife
keep.
gets annoyed. But the other day, like I had some obscure thing, and I found the cable from like 10 years ago. I was like, yes, justified.
It's a win, it's a win. Savannah just commented, oh, where'd it go? I can't throw away an Apple box. It feels illegal. 100% agree. Under my couch, there is definitely some Apple boxes from my work laptops. I'm just like, I don't know why. Like, it's no different. It doesn't add any value, but I'm like, just in case. Just while I'm chatting about comments, let's just cover a couple of things. Does infrequent access change anything in terms of storage price? Yes, it does. What was the price difference again, Matt?
Actually, no, it doesn't. Is the
Oh,
answer? Yeah. So there are multiple costs associated with the use of CloudWatch logs.
yeah.
Um, First, there's the ingestion cost. So you're paying per gigabyte of logs that you bring into the CloudWatch
Oh,
system. Then on top of that, you pay a 3 cents per gigabyte archival or storage cost for as long as you retain those logs. So
mhm.
let's say I bring in 1 gigabyte of log. Actually, that might be falling under free tier, but let's ignore that. I pay 50 cents initially, and then if I preserve it for 2 months, like I just did in that when I was clicking through, that'd be about 6 cents of storage costs throughout the lifetime of that log.
Ah.
And this is where that like you don't want to set it to never expire, because then you'll be paying this in perpetuity, which nobody wants to do unless they have a strong use case to keep the logs that long.
I understand. Okay, so we've got two different things, everybody. Reminder, the storage cost, ingestion cost. IA, ingestion, storage, separate. I think I've made that mistake more than once, so I'm glad you're here to clarify.
Yeah, and that's especially for folks who are familiar with other logging tools. Some other logging tools in the space price, a lot of the cost is driven here. But if you're
Mhm.
trying to like pay attention to your CloudWatch costs, the ingestion cost is a good thing to try and optimize for.
Awesome. Okay. All right. Some great questions in the chat. So thank you, everyone. And if you're watching us, if you just joined us, we're talking all about CloudWatch and some new things that have been released recently, which brings us on to the Log Insights tab, I believe.
All right, sure. Yeah. If you don't have any other questions, I can start pivoting into the new feature. The other couple of features, which are a little bit less about helping customers achieve a cost that's best suited to their use case, and more about helping developers optimize their time when performing these investigations. That said, before I jump into this, I will highlight that this Logs Insights, what I'm looking at is also available for those infrequent access logs, the lower cost logging tier that we mentioned earlier. So I can see our little log group I just created for that test earlier. But a couple of the more complex features that I'm about to look at won't be available. So it's a subset of the query capability. Anyway, let's just get into this. All right, so I'm going to, again, pivot a little bit away from a more FinOps type perspective on this, and
Yeah.
kind of start looking at this product more from a developer perspective, and talk about how customers can really optimize their use of this product and to save their time when performing investigations. All right, so what am I looking at anyway? So here we are in Logs Insights, which is the CloudWatch log querying engine. So if you're a customer, you're that application developer, maybe your CloudWatch alarm just fired and you need to go pivot over into your logs and try and understand, hey, what happened with this application? What's the root cause that triggered that? This is where many of our customers are going to go. They're going to go look in their logs, which is kind of the ground truth of what happened with my application at any given time. So what I've done, just to walk you through this page a little bit, up here is our time selector. So I'm querying over the past 1 hour of logs.
Mhm.
I selected the log group for some land application that I have running in my account. And then I just left the default little query experience here.
Right.
So what customers can do is construct different levels of queries into their logs using this query interface over here. They can find a couple other
Oh.
useful features such as
Oh, it's even this
examples.
table. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, this is a simple feature, but save query super useful to like start
Yeah.
with something basic. You can go save a couple pre-canned queries and start from there, as opposed to having to figure out these queries from scratch every time.
Mhm.
Discovered fields. This looks for common or any fields extracted, let's say out of the from any JSON formatted logs, for example, or from several AWS logging sources, we automatically discover these. So you can kind of pop these into your filter over there.
Awesome.
Um, let's talk about a few things. One, a lot of our customers who are power users of this query language love it. They find it super useful. They're able to slice and dice their logs and really quickly get to what they need. But we also hear from a lot of our customers that, hey, the one or two folks in our org that are power users of this thing find it super useful, and everyone else is always calling them asking for help to construct a query. So to kind of alleviate those poor folks' time, we've added a new Gen AI powered query generation
Cool.
feature.
Love
So
some
this,
Gen AI.
yeah, gotta do the Gen AI.
Gotta do it.
Yeah, there's more where this came from. Okay, so what you can do here is, as you can probably guess, put in a human readable or kind of natural language question or prompt of what you want the service to generate, and we'll generate that query for you, saving you the effort of sifting through our query documentation. So let's say the Lambda invocations that took, well, let's see what that looks like. So I'll just put my little query and hope it can figure out the query for me. Something cool about this particular feature, a lot of Gen AI features are really generic. It's just whatever text you put in the prompt, it's going to make its best effort to figure it out. But this feature is actually contextually aware of what's happening in your logs. So knows what your log groups are. It's leveraging this kind of data, like the field extraction of what fields were contained within your logs, to make this a bit smarter. So for example, this was based on a particular field in my logs.
Okay.
So now, instead of having to go figure out that query language, sift through a bunch of documentation, it constructed that query for me, and I was able to see my slow performing Lambda functions really easily.
Amazing. Okay, so once you've seen this, it gives you the high level stuff. Can we go into that patterns tab that I'm wanting to get into?
Yeah, let me actually
Oh,
drop back to the
okay.
original query though, because now I've only queried a subset of my logs. I want this to be a bit
Okay.
more robust.
Right. Yeah. I had someone I got a question in the comments. I will come to when Matt finishes this part of the demo. But query generator is pretty cool. I like the feedback.
Yeah,
um,
we found the reaction to be pretty positive so far. A lot of folks come in a little bit skeptical because they don't think it's going to work so super well, and most of the folks who have tried it have been really, really impressed. I think that kind of contextual awareness really helps increase the accuracy. And
yeah.
if it doesn't get the query 100% right the first time, it normally gets you 90% of the way there. So you can typically make a small adjustment as opposed to,
Mhm.
and it's really going to saves a lot of time. I mean, I
Perfect.
myself use it when I'm digging into the logs. All
Yeah.
right. So let's talk about this new pattern thing. So
Okay.
this isn't based on Gen AI. This is based on machine learning. So
Ah.
not quite as cool as Gen AI, but I'm passionate about it.
Mr.
I
Gen
think it's
AI of
fun.
its day, you could say ML.
Yeah. So let's take a look at, or let's go through an example of what our
Okay.
customers might be running. So if I'm a developer, I'm on call, I get a page in the middle of the night. My CloudWatch alarm is firing. My phone rings. It's really loud. I stumble out of bed. I need to dive into my logs and try and quickly troubleshoot this thing so I can close out the issue and go back to bed. So a lot of times when customers come into their logs, they can feel a bit overwhelmed. In today's modern applications, things are generating huge volumes of logs, and diving into it can be a bit of an overwhelming challenge.
Mhm.
So in this simple Lambda function, for example, in the past 1 hour, I've received about 4,000 logs. What we've added is this ML-based capability called pattern analysis. And what this does is sift through all your logs, look for common or repeating text structures, and then does some clustering to group your logs together and make it
Mhm.
easier to analyze. So those 4,000 logs were distilled down to a mere 41 patterns. So I'll quickly explain patterns and the kind of value here. So a pattern is kind of, again, a clustered grouping of my logs. So for example, I can see that about 30%, 37% of the logs in this query period had this debug, some message, and this format. Each of these asterisks represents what we call a token, which is a variable component of the log. So this could be something as simple as a timestamp. It could be like a HTTP response code, something that's going to help the developer kind of click through and analyze what was happening uh, with the logs associated with this particular pattern. This is also helpful for customers to understand what percentage of their logs are coming from where. So if I'm a
Ah,
developer,
okay.
I want to understand. I know I've got this application. It's generating a lot of logs, but I don't understand where the logs are coming from. This percentage breakdown helps me understand. Okay, about 37% of these logs were from this debug message. 10% were from this other message. So they can better understand what's happening in their logs and what's driving those logging volumes.
Yeah.
But going back to that use case, I'm troubleshooting this application issue. I want to show a couple more cool things around that. So one, customers can just, a developer might want to just simply come in, click, oh, show me any patterns associated with error messages. Okay. And then and there's just a couple of clicks, distilled these logs down to probably the few most relevant things that are most likely causing any kind of issue. But here's kind of my favorite part of this whole feature.
Okay.
A lot of times when developers are in their logs, what they're really trying to fundamentally answer is, hey, my application's having some issue right now. It was working fine yesterday. What the heck changed? What happened? What went wrong? So another really cool thing we added is this new comparison feature. And all the customers I've been on calls with, I've been talking to, are absolutely loving this. What
Oh,
this lets
okay.
you
I
do
don't know what this
is
is. Oh,
okay. Well, let's check it out.
let's do it.
Um, so classic log querying, you're just querying over some selected time period. So what we've
Mhm.
added here is the ability to query over some selected time period, but compare it to another period. So now I'm querying my logs from the past 1 hour, and I can come over here to compare and say, okay, well, my application was working fine just yesterday. So let's compare the logs from the last 1 hour when my alarm started firing to the same logs logs from the same 1 hour period a day ago and see what actually
Okay.
changed in my logs. So here I can come over
Oh, I'm
and I'll just
intrigued.
run that. And now I see those same kind of pattern constructs as we saw last
Mhm.
time, the thing with the little asterisks, the machine learning based clustering. But instead of just saying what patterns are in my logs, I'm seeing the relative change in my logs compared to, in this example, yesterday. So, for example, I see
Mm.
there was a new pattern that had this error. Oh, and what's this say? Something about, oh, data formatting exception. Okay, well, if I'm a developer, some new error that's showing up today that wasn't there yesterday, that's pretty much a dead ringer for this is what's causing my application issue. So for
Yeah.
customers responding to alarms, getting those pages, they're absolutely loving this for just making it so much easier and faster to get to those insights of what happened in their logs.
Amazing. That's so cool. Okay, so I'm gonna summarize a little bit as we're coming up on time to June, but just on putting our like FinOps head hats back on, especially if you see a lot of costs coming from ingestion. The great thing I see about this tool is, like Matt said, you can see where the majority of logs are coming from and what the kind of format is. And for example, if it's debug, but this is kind of a steady state production workload, maybe you don't need to have a debug mode on all the time. Or is if there's a high error count, but maybe your application is working fine, like what is that error? Is it producing anything that's worthwhile? Also, if there's any kind of duplicate logs, for example, if you have, I've seen this stuff before, people printing out both an kind of info statement and also just kind of like a print statement means that they get both and they're not actually getting any more information out of it. Also, whether the logs are relevant, like Matt was saying, if you are someone who's going in to find out what's happening, having all these like logs that are just useless information list, just printing out data that you don't actually need to see, then it's less relevant. Anything else you want to showcase before we jump into some questions, Matt?
Um, no, I'll just add one more comment. I'll say
Yeah.
from a cost optimization, the most common question I hear about from our customers are, hey, which we have n number of log groups in our accounts, which ones are driving the most cost? And to help segue to our next section, I think Jean's talk is going to help answer that question. So
Yeah.
something to keep in mind for the next speaker.
Awesome. Okay. All right. Let's jump into some of these questions. So this has already been answered in the chat. So thank you everybody chat who's been going through it. But question: do you need to enable anything to get path analysis? Answer that's a no. It's just there by default, right?
Yeah, it's just there by default is the short answer. So there's two different ways to do it. One is for any logs insights query you run, we now return a pattern result by default. But that pattern default result is going to analyze a sample of your total matched records. So if your query returns 4,000, here we can see the patterns were based only on 1,000. Typically, that's good enough because it's a sampling kind of thing. But there's also a pattern command, and that will always analyze the full result set. The other thing to note is pattern works for any and all logs. You don't have to do any special formatting. You don't have to do any configuration. The log doesn't have to be from some specific source or in some specific format. It should just work. So that's another really cool thing about it.
That's the goal. Okay, this one we'll try and kind of get into. Do you ever see any sample log generated by AWS CloudWatch? Just want to create dashboards. So I'm wondering if there's any kind of, there's also a question about how you push CloudWatch logs, logs to CloudWatch. Maybe a kind of brief summary of like how to set up anything for an EC2. What's the process for getting logs into CloudWatch?
Yeah, so there's, I'll kind of broadly break it down into two different types of logs, and this is some CloudWatch terminology. We have what we call vended logs, which are logs coming natively from a list of supported AWS services, such as a real common one is VPC flow logs. So for these other AWS services, it normally involves like checking, like going to that service, in this case VPC, checking some checkbox, maybe putting a setting or two, and those logs will just start flowing into CloudWatch. You don't have to do anything else as a customer to configure that. The
Cool.
other big category is what we call custom logs, which you can kind of loosely interpret as logs coming from your own applications or software. And that the way to get those logs into CloudWatch is really diverse and varied. At the end of the day, CloudWatch just has an API that anything in theory could push logs to. The most common things are, for example, for EC2 instances, customers typically deploy an agent of some kind. We have our own CloudWatch agent, but it also works with other open source type agents. And then again, it really varies from compute service to compute service. Lambda, they just show up for free. Kubernetes, you use a different kind of agent. Like I probably spend a whole talk on different ways. Suffice to say,
The classics.
there's a few things that will just show up for free, and a few that customers go configure.
It depends. But make sure, like we said earlier, make sure you know what it is so that you can configure it and you can control the logs. Last one before we go on to our next speaker. Can I use log insights to find logs that shouldn't be collecting anymore? Any tips for reducing over ingestion? We've kind of covered this, but any broader best practices for logging that you want to recommend before we finish up?
Yeah, from an optimization perspective, I definitely recommend starting with the more fundamental questions of which log groups are contributing my cost, because sometimes our customers have one log group that's contributing 80% of their total volume. So if I'm trying to understand my cost contributors, like I probably want to start there as opposed to 20 other log groups that account for 10-20% between them. Another big thing is paying attention to that retention setting. So long as you're choosing one that makes sense for your workload, you're great. Where customers run into challenges is where folks aren't even either aware of it or just aren't paying attention to it, and leaving it to some really long retention period, which can help drive up their costs. So those are kind of my recommended starting points. And then from there, you can do more optimization that gets much more nuanced after those two basic things.
Yeah, amazing. Okay. Thank you so much for coming on, demoing, explaining all these intricate parts of CloudWatch. Everybody watching, go and check it out. Go and try this in one of your accounts. Maybe use Cost Explorer to go and figure out which accounts are generating some of the higher CloudWatch spend, or even speak to your developers and kind of say, hey, there's this new thing that will help you be more efficient in finding any bugs if there's any applications that kind of require a lot of hand holding. But Mac, thank you so much for coming on. That was, that's so nice. That was a great session. Some nice feedback.
Right.
Awesome. All right, but thank you so much. But don't go anywhere, everybody. We will be swapping over to our next speaker in just a moment. Thanks again. Hello, hello. All right, let's get into our next topic. Hey, Jean. Now, I've been calling you Jean. I've just realized. Is that how you I've just been reading it. Is that how you pronounce your first name?
No, I pronounce my first name Jean.
Jean. Okay. That's thank you for correcting me. I'm glad I did that at the start. Always good to do. But how's your day going so far? You're in Dublin, right? So you're in the same
Yes.
time zone as me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm safe from rain right now, so all's going well.
Awesome. Okay, so we're going to be touching into a new cost dashboard that was built, and we're going to be reviewing some of that. But before we start, as always, give us your 1 minute origin story.
Yeah, sure. So actually, I share a lot in common with Matt, which you just heard, because I'm also a former developer, and so I'm a very technical guy. So I'm now a product manager with CloudWatch, and within CloudWatch, I work on the other side of things compared to Matt. So I don't work in logs at all. I'm really on the metrics, alarms, and dashboards part of CloudWatch.
Awesome.
And just one thing maybe to know about me is that before joining CloudWatch, I was working on financial software for banks and insurance. So maybe that might explain why I'm very sensitive to what allows you to save a few bucks.
Awesome. Great background. Okay, let's do a quick poll before we touch into our next topic. So, as always, everybody, when it comes to polls, 1 for yes, 2 for no. Who's using CloudWatch? Just 1 or yes, 1 or 2 in the chat. I want to see in the audience who's using it. So 1 or 2 yes for no. And while we're doing that, we've got a couple of other questions in the chat. Oh, tons of people. Yes, I just want to see 9, 10,
Nice.
Loads of people. Loads of CloudWatch fans in the audience today. So hopefully you will learn about this new dashboard and you'll be able to implement to see how much things are costing you. Awesome. All right. Thank you for sharing that, guys. I think there was nope, there was nothing else. Okay, so let's get into this dashboard. So do you want to give us a bit of an overview of what it does before we do a demo?
Okay, just a few things. So first, it's not an entirely new dashboard. It's a dashboard that was released a couple of years ago by one of my colleagues. But what I found is that a lot of people don't know about that dashboard. So I'm trying to spread the word and share how useful it can be. It's part of thanks for sharing the link. So it's part of an overall strategy, because when you look at your CloudWatch spend, you need to understand where your spend is coming from if you want to make sure that you are spending on the right things. Monitoring is super important. It allows you to save a lot when you need to troubleshoot if anything goes wrong, or if you need to optimize your resources. But in order to make sure that you get the right value out of the monitoring, you need to make sure that you actually spend on the right areas. So you have to start broad, and when you start, you would start with the usual tool of cost management, which is Cost Explorer. I mean that's the obvious choice, and that is going to tell you which parts of CloudWatch are driving costs. Now, the thing that you would encounter when you use Cost Explorer is there's a lot of technical wording already. Like you look at your spend on CloudWatch and you see something like vended logs IA, or and you wonder, like, what's the IA for? What does it mean? What can someone explain that in plain English to me? So that's exactly why we built a dedicated documentation page in the CloudWatch documentation, where you can find some guidance around what you can see in the Cost Explorer, what that means, and give you a few tips as to what you could do next if you need to optimize one of the things that you're seeing. If you want, I could start sharing just from here.
Yeah, let's go for it. If you want to bring up your share screen, let's find this. Also, I believe this is the right documentation here, which I'll just put link below. Is this the right one?
Yes.
The latest, yeah. So really recommend checking that out. This is something I use all the time for reference. It has great descriptions of what things are, what they mean, and some optimization recommendations. It's just a quick way for you guys to start seeing what is going on, and let's share it right now. Perfect.
Yes. So the first thing is to try to translate the names that identify the different features into plain English. So I was giving the example of the vendid log IA. That would tell you that's what Matt just presented, the infrequent access logs. So the number of bytes that you're sending from one of the AWS services to this new infrequent access tier. That's what you would be able to understand from this. So this is really like your first stop. Then you, like Matt pointed out, one of the common question is how do you've identified your CloudWatch span. You understand that some of that span is driven by logs, and you want to take a deep dive in your log span. So how would you know which log group is driving that span? And here we have something that is really nice. It's a new feature in the Cost Explorer. So we're still not in CloudWatch yet. We're still in Cost Explorer. And I've just filtered my span on CloudWatch, just looking at CloudWatch. And I'm going to use the group by dimension here, where I can go down to the resource. And when I do that, I'm going to see here the names of the log groups that are contributing to my span. And since it's ordered already, I can see that the log group that is driving the biggest spend in my account is the one that I use for the adoption, the pet adoption website application. So that's, and I have the direct link to the log group. I have the RN, so I can really pinpoint the exact log group that is driving the spend. So that's really awesome because it's the actual spend on the log group.
Yeah, we love it when it's correct. And I think that the one really key thing with this is, as a reminder, resources are in that. And when we were talking about this, you were like, oh yeah, we can showcase this. And I was like, oh, of course, I'd forgotten that resources are now in here. And what's also might be quite helpful is if you're looking at your CloudWatch, looking over a couple of months and also seeing if there's any kind of anomalies or anything's been growing in spend, that kind of resource element, because that could be that something is blowing up in there, something's storing too many logs. It could be some other total different element that we're not even looking at today, but having the ability to be like, okay, this one is consistently high. And also, if you're trying to tackle an optimization opportunity, pinpointing the biggest one and saying, okay, this is the one we're going to focus on, or biggest 3 or 5 or whatever, but narrowing that search down so that you can be more specific in your optimization and have those specific conversations with owners will enable you to get things moving, move that needle. Okay, what next?
So this view on the per resource is limited to the last 2 weeks of data, and you've identified a log group, but you might need additional information now, like how many gigabytes are really in this log group. Maybe you want to see a wider range of time for that log group. You want to see the ingestion, because the log group might have a lot of historical data as well, a very long retention, or an always-on retention, things like that. So you need to dive a little bit into what's going on. And this is where the dashboard that my colleague built a few years ago really comes in handy, because it really allows you to see a few more details. So at the very top, it's a reminder of what you see in the Cost Explorer. So you can just find the link with what we just saw. You have the span by region, by the different features. So those technical names that you can find in the documentation we pointed out. But I'm just driving directly to the log section because there you can see the incoming volume of new logs that you're sending to a specific log group. And you can see also the number of API calls that you're making to send this data to the log group. So I recognize my culprit that we just saw a few minutes ago. It's actually driving 40%-ish of my spend, 45. And this is really driven by ingestion in volume. So this is a good indicator that if I want to reduce the span of that log group, I actually need to reduce the ingestion going to that log group. Or I could switch it. I have to admit, this log group is not in the infrequent access tier, so that might be a good idea to recreate it as an infrequent access tier, since I'm not using any advanced features on it.
Yeah, definitely.
So, like I said, you would be able to go, a few months backwards if you want to see if the things move over time. So, for example, my other log groups, like the pet search service, is actually growing over time. So if I look at a wider range of time, there is actually going to shrink here. And sorry, it's the opposite. It was more used before, and it's another service that has shrunk. But if I can compare like that over time, so here I've done it by just changing the time range of the on the dashboard, but you could look at a specific range of time, or you could duplicate the widget to do a side-by-side comparison if you prefer. The thing is really to understand if there is any change in the trend that I'm seeing, because the dashboard would give you a view of a specific point in time, of a specific range, but you could also want to look at the changes in the trend.
Awesome. And we've had a question as well, just from what you did earlier when you were talking about the infrequent access. What happens to an old log group if it gets recreated?
So I think that would be a question for Matt.
Matt, pop it in the private chat and I'll show your answer.
Yeah, it's, if I'm not mistaken, like I believe you don't you would lose the content, but I would really love Matt to confirm.
Yeah. Perfect. So continue.
Yeah. So, like I said, two parts really. One was really about the volume, and one is really about the API usage, which sort of correlates with the high ingestion volume. Because if you have a high ingestion volume, you should see that in the number of calls you're making as well, in order to publish new events to your log group, or there should be some sort of correlation. So this is what I can check here, and in our case, it proves right. Like the correlation is very visible. My two main log groups in terms of ingestion span are the ones where I use them the most, the API. So maybe if I'm, if one of those two log groups weren't that useful, maybe I would want to do some sampling or to send fewer logs. I could revisit the way the application is sending logs to those log groups.
Okay, cool. We also had another question. I'm working on this exact issue. CloudWatch is one of the 4 services costing more than expected. Classic problem. Great to know that about the resourcing cost explorer. Can the dashboard be shared? Yes, it can. Let me bring that back up. That is the link to the dashboard. It's that's part 1. There's part 2 as well. And
so
as a note as well on the question about what happens if you delete a log group, Matt says customers don't normally delete them. What they normally do is set the retention down so logs can be deleted over time, and you create a new one with the new infrequent access level. Okay, anything else you want to showcase on the dashboard?
Just bouncing back on the question you just answered, the dashboard is shared as a CloudFormation template. You can just download the template from the blog post that you shared, and it's really just 2 minutes away to deploy it in your account.
Oh, I love it. 2 minutes away before you have this beautiful thing in your account. That's a challenge for everyone watching. Okay, we're coming up to the end. Yeah, so anything else you want to highlight in here?
So the dashboard is not just about logs. Yeah, so it was just the fact that the dashboard also covers the other APIs. So you would be able as well to see your ingestion of metrics or usage of dashboards and other indicators like that. So I won't cover all of the dashboard. I think that there is a lot of information as well in the blog post, so I really encourage you to check it out.
Awesome. Okay. All right. I just want to do one more quick question before we go on to our richer summary in a second, which is we spoke about a couple of other optimization aspects. There was one thing you brought up about having multiple dashboards and people having multiple dashboards, and they're slightly different and they're spending a lot on dashboards. Do you just want to quick, in like 2 minutes, summarize what you said to me about how to optimize dashboard costs?
Yes. So if you have several dashboards that are the same basically, but you're just using them with different sets of data, because you're looking maybe at different accounts, different dimensions, you can actually make them just one dashboard. You can merge them and use a feature called dashboard variables to cycle through your data sets. So you can sort of zoom out and zoom in on any of the data set and then just cycle through them using the dashboard variables feature.
Okay, perfect. All right, thanks. I wanted to get that in there because it's something we haven't covered before. Maybe we'll do some more chatting in it another time. Okay, that brings us to the end. So our very last thing is Secret Richard. Rick is going to bring up our screen, and he has written a summary of today's CloudWatch episode, which I don't know what he's done. So let's see. ingestion, half the price. Trade-off for advanced features. Yes, be aware you will be losing some of it, but if you're not using them, why pay for them? Query generator, not bad at all. Go have a go. I love this. I'm going to mess around with it and learn a little bit more about variables. Pattern analysis, not quite as cool, but still pretty great. I feel like Matt's laughing. Throwing some shade, but loving it. I really like pattern analysis. I think it's cool. Rehash Dash helps identify target cost drivers. Yes, go check it out. Like it was said, it was a couple of years old, so I think we are happy to be showcasing it here on Twitch. Okay, that is it for today's episode. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. We will be going on a little hiatus for 3 weeks to rest, have some time to find some more opportunities to talk to you all about. We'll be back on the 23rd of May, so make sure to tune in and just make sure you stay up to date. Subscribe to the Twitch channel, subscribe to the YouTube channel, give us a like. And as Shadow Fox says, keep lifting. That's my motto. Always do it. And I can't wait for 3 weeks. Love this. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And we will see you next time. Bye.